The measurements are the waist circumference, the hip circumference, the knee circumference, the ankle circumference, the length of the trousers, the crouch level or the rise of the crouch, and this measurement is taken when seated. I'll start by cutting out my pattern paper. The size needed will be half of the hip circumference plus 10 inches, and the height will be the length of the trousers plus 5 inches. Mark out 1.5 inches from both the horizontal and vertical sides of the paper and square out. Label this intersection as A. From point A, go down 7 inches and square this off. This is the hip level. The 7 inch is a standard for the medium size. Label this point B, and from point A mark out the crouch level and label this point C. Square them out. Mark out the length of the trousers. Square this out and mark this point D. Mark out the midpoint between point C and D. Square this out and label point E. This becomes the knee level. Mark out 1/4 of the waist circumference plus half an inch, and this becomes point L. From this point, go up in a straight line 3/4 of an inch. Mark this point G. Draw a straight line connecting points A to G, and this becomes the back waistline. Measure and mark out the midpoint of line AG. Mark this point H. This becomes the center of our dot line. From this point, go down 4.5 inches. Mark this point I. Draw a straight line and mark out half an inch on both sides of H. Use a ruler to connect this point with a straight line to I, and this becomes our dot. Mark out 1/4 of the hip circumference and add half an inch. This becomes point J. Using a ruler, connect the point G to J and continue till you touch the crouch level. This intersection, mark this point K. From point K, mark out 1/8 of the hip's circumference towards the right and label this point L. Measure and mark out 1/3 of the line KL closer to the point L and label this point M. Draw a straight line from M until it touches the trouser level. This becomes point N. From point M, go down 1/4 of an inch and mark this point O. This point O becomes the adjusted crouch level for the back pattern of a lady's trouser. Draw a straight line 1.5 inch backwards from O before using a curve ruler to connect O to the hip level J. Get the midpoint between line DN, that's on the trouser length stroke ankle level. Mark this point P. Draw a straight line from this point P to the crouch level and mark this point Q. This line becomes the pressing line. The intersection on the knee level, it becomes point R. On point R of the knee level, mark out a quarter of the knee circumference, adding a quarter of an inch on both sides, and label them R1 and R2. Also on the trouser level, point P, measure a quarter of the ankle circumference, adding a quarter of an inch on both sides and labeling them P1 and P2. Using a ruler, connect the points R1 and P1 and P2 and R2. Using a curved ruler, try and join the points C, B and A together. Try and make it to have a smooth curvature and avoid any harsh corners. Also use a curved ruler to join the points O to point R2. And we have now completed the first part of our trousers pattern, and that's the back part. So we'll continue to the front part.